George Kilpatrick Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. August the 24th, mark your calendars. Cusetown, hip hop legends. You know, we never think about Syracuse and its own hip hop history, but Emad Rahim, Dr. Emad Rahim, who is a hip hop head, he recently had a collection of his stuff at the bookstore that your wife curates beautifully. I know it's Brigade. What's the other part of it?
Black Citizens Brigade.
Black Citizens Brigade. He had an opening and really had a chance to show us some of his vinyl, some of his collection. And so let's start with, how did you come up with the idea to do this Cusetown hip hop piece?
Well, I've always been a fan of local hip hop, probably more so than, national hip hop because it was so close to me, right? I can actually talk with these artists. I got to know some of these artists. For those that do not know, many, many years ago, back in high school, I used to work for DJ Scratch, um, who's known as Rufus Morris in the community. But he had one of the first vinyls I've ever seen. He actually had a record deal. It was Makeba and Scratch. They went on like a national tour with some big names. And he leveraged that celebrity status and the proceeds from being an artist to actually opening up Radio Underground. And he had three locations in Syracuse, and he also had a nightclub called Nowhere City, and
That's
he had a
right.
recording studio. Yeah, he had a recording studio right on Salina. And he also started what is it? School of the Hearts, a nonprofit organization.
Right, right at Shopping Town Mall, as a matter of
Yep,
fact.
yep. So here was an artist that we all knew that went, to a local high school and, that traveled the country promoting his art, worked with a lot of big hip hop heads and brought that money back into our community and
Mm-hmm.
opened up three record stores, a recording studio, a nightclub, right? And I got a chance to work with him, which also allowed me to work with other artists that he worked with and managed and so forth.
And also radio station. He was also an investor in the first Black-owned radio station in Syracuse, and
Yeah,
so there
he
was a
had the
lot
rep.
to that.
Yeah, so he had the scratch attack. And
Yes,
so a funny story with that, he had this countdown. It was like the top five like scratch attacks. When you called that hotline to request your song, to vote for your song, I was the kid that answered the phone.
so so listen. So you've always been a fan of hip hop, and it's interesting because when you think about hip hop, obviously the origins in the Bronx, New York, 1973, and all of that. What do we see the emergence of Syracuse hip hop?
Well, like I said, Syracuse had many evolutions. We had like our dance era, like not just like lyrically, but there were a lot of like dance b-boy groups that came out of Syracuse that also went around doing battles in upstate from Rochester to Buffalo, right? I mean, I got videos of you, George, dancing.
So let's contextualize. Butch Charles and I, all of us from Syracuse, came together and created this show called Syracuse Soul. Yeah, and then it became Club B videos, and so I don't know if you would call that hip hop. That was probably more of the disco era or the end of disco funk,
But,
all of
but
that.
remember, like Sugar Hill Gang, right, came out of
Right.
disco, like in
Yes,
regards
yes,
to
it
the
did.
first
Yeah,
single.
yeah,
Some of the early like Treacherous Five, like use a lot like Houdini. They used a lot of
yes,
disco
yes, yes,
samples.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So there were a lot of like nightclubs that were owned by black owners in
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse, all the way from South Salina to North Salina. Um, from Club Camille, not Club Camille, like the Ozone. There was a few other clubs on the east side. So we had a lot of underground hip hop in the form of dancing, in the form of production, even like public access cable, right? There were a few local shows that was actually produced out of Scratch's what was that place called? He had like another nightclub that was right on South Salina. which is now a church.
Gardenia.
Yes, yes.
I mean, he didn't own that, but
But yeah, he did a lot of work out of there.
yes, 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 yes.
Right. And they also used to do like live concerts. They do a lot of public broadcasting shows out of there. They did battles and all these things.
And so for this panel, though, Scratch ain't gonna be there.
No, Scratch is in Atlanta. Scratch is in the movie business now. But we will talk about Scratch. We'll talk about the influence he had locally, the music he put out there, and the business acumen that he put out there in regards to like shaping the next generation of entrepreneurs in music. Um, so our panelists include Seth Marcel, a local artist that came out of the Mad Pack that went on to work with Jadakiss, right? Derek Coleman, former NBA player, and also even worked on shows like in regards to music production. Jus One, who put out multiple records, worked with a lot of national artists also all the way down south, and also DJ Maestro, who's worked for MTV, VH1, Viacom, worked both radio and production, and now is one of the main DJs for Syracuse basketball and football and fraternity parties, and also he still helps to host some of the acts that come to the state fairgrounds.
Yeah, and you know, of the two, I obviously know Seth Marcel and I know DJ Maestro because DJ Maestro, when he first got involved with Syracuse radio, was interning with me. How about that? Back in the day, and this is in the year 2000, I was doing the local news for then Power 10, was it Power 106.9? That was Power 106.9. And we were working together back in the day when he was still a student over at Hobart William Smith.
Yes,
So,
yes, yep.
So I'm going back.
Yes, you are. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't know Jus One. I don't know
Yeah.
if I've been familiar with his work.
Yeah, Jus One came out, I would say, in the mid 90s. He also did a lot of music with Seth Marcel when I think Seth went under the name Hannibal Lecter.
Mm.
He was known as Seth Marcel. So
Mm.
he's been around for a while. Worked with a few acts locally and nationally. He did a lot of music production. Came out with a few vinyls, mixtapes. He also is an author. He wrote a kids hip hop book recently that just dropped. So this panel is looking at the evolution, not just the history, but the evolution of hip hop as it was formed in the early 90s to where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We will look at from different angles. We will discuss things that tie to like independent labels that existed in Syracuse, the club scenes, high school scenes in regards to how it evolved. Like when it comes to acts like the Wu-Tang Clan, the Mad Pack was very similar to that locally because there was like 6 or 7 members of the Mad Pack that represented different high school students, and they evolved to also being solo artists and producers and so forth. And some of them are actually still in music, even working with the Wu-Tang Clan, working with Busta Rhymes and so forth. And then we're also going to hit it from the radio perspective, the college perspective, and so forth. People often forget that much of our local hip hop culture was formed because of Syracuse University. We would get a lot of music acts that come to Syracuse to do shows because Syracuse is such a big university and big presence. We also used to host a very big Greek freak here, right? We had a lot of the fraternities, like black fraternities, that organized in Syracuse and all the way to Cornell that would host parties in Syracuse.
So,
Yeah, so we have a big history of that.
oh,
And many of these artists that came loved Syracuse and promoted Syracuse.
so let me give you my Greek freak story. Are you ready for my Greek freak? I don't know if you know this story. Have I ever told you this my Greek freak story?
Probably not.
All right, so here we go. Speaking of hip hop artists, there was this group out of Hollis, Queens. Is it Hollis? I don't know. It's Queens. They're out of Queens, New York City. They go by the name of Run DMC.
Yeah.
So check this out. So they're coming for Greek Freak. They have to be picked up at the airport. So here I go. I'm picking up Russell Simmons, who sat in the front with me. In the back of my Chevrolet Nova is Jam Master Jay, Daryl, DMC, and Run. And I picked them up at the airport. And then we went to get something to eat before we went to Syracuse University to drop them off for or Manly. Actually, it was at Manly is
Yeah.
where they had where the Greek Freak was at this particular time. And so we went to Burger King. And it's funny because the Burger King, we went to the Burger King in DeWitt, which was not the Burger King that is there now. It
Yeah.
was previously a Burger King back in the day. And I remember now I'm a college student. I'm thinking, Burger King, I only got a couple of dollars. And you know what the funny thing, Emad, you know what I was most impressed about? That they just ordered whatever they wanted, and I was like, wow, that's what it's like to just be able to, because I'm a struggling college. I think I'm a
Yeah.
sophomore at this point. I think I'm a sophomore, or maybe a junior. I don't know, whatever year I was in. But and they ended up actually Butch Charles, who was he was at WAER still at the time, and we ended up being an after party with Jam Master Jay DJing at Butch Charles's house. So that is my brush with fame, at least for those particular artists.
No, that's a wonderful story, and also show how down to earth they were. You know
Oh
that
yeah,
they're selling millions of records, and they're like, "Let's go to Burger King," and
let's
they're
go to
okay.
Burger King.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, remember, this is early on, right? So they were like talking about their next concert, which was ironically in Flint, Michigan, was the next stop from Syracuse. And it was such a great experience, actually, my brush with fame. And these are some of the untapped, there's many more stories. That's just one, not from me, but from the under, because it's an underground community
Yeah.
as well. And I mean, I think you and the panel will talk a lot about that underground community. And I'm thinking about your own exhibition and your own collection as a hip hop head. And I want to remind folks that not only are you a hip hop head, you use hip hop as an educational tool. You write about like how hip hop informs culture, etc. So let's dip into that for a minute.
Yeah, so I'm a professor at Syracuse University and also Bellevue University, and I use hip hop to teach marketing, to teach branding, to teach entrepreneurship, because many of those teachers that I had in regards to business didn't come from professors. It came from RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan and how he marketed the Wu-Tang brand and how he marketed this group into solo acts and opportunities, and now they have toys, they have music, they have technology, all these things. I use examples of Nas and how he used his first album to grow that brand and how he streamlined it into a record label and so forth. Because these things, in regards to the population that I often teach, which are undergraduate students from inner cities, it resonates with them. It's not what comes out of the textbook, it what comes out of the music industry, right? It comes from pop culture. That's how I learned entrepreneurship. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to utilize hip hop culture to provide a different perspective in regards to what's happening in the business industry.
And you talk about Nas. What I go to when I think of Nas is his beef with Jay-Z, right? as part of marketing. Do you think that was part of marketing, or
Oh yeah, no, definitely, definitely. I don't think they thought of it from that perspective, but once it started driving sales, right? Once it kind of grew their brand profile and awareness. Oh no, definitely they took advantage of that and utilized it. And then when Jay-Z became president of Def Jam, right? He went out and searched for Nas so to co-sign him because he saw that opportunity. They put away that beef and said, let's look at the bigger picture, right? Let's look at how this influenced the music industry. And I would say Nas now probably makes more money off of his investments than he does off of music, right?
really?
Jay-Z is a billionaire, probably more so because of his investments versus his music.
Yeah, we're talking with Emad Rahim. He's the curator of Cusetown Hip Hop Evolution. It's a panel that'll be taking place August the 24th at the Black Citizens Brigade. What time is the panel, by the way?
It is, I believe we have it at 3 to 5 or 6.
3 to 5 or 6. And it should be I mean, for those of you who are talking about specifically Syracuse hip hop, right? Because we get it that hip hop is a global phenomenon now, but we've got our own little taste here, right here in this community. And I'm wondering, as you think about where we are now in your own personal history to it, you talk about being the guy that answered the phones when Scratch had the Scratch Attack on the air, and they would have requests. What are some of your other memories that make this event so special for you?
Oh man, there's so many. I remember meeting poor righteous teachers at the Shine at Syracuse University by accident. I was playing pool with one of the members and just didn't realize it because I've never seen him, in person. And he was asking me what I was doing here, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm here to see poor righteous teachers." And he was like, "You're a fan of them?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're a big fan." I was like, "Oh, big fan." And I had no idea that I was talking to the headliner. And then when he was finished with playing pool and he got on stage, he called me to the front and he started handing out books to people in the audience, basically to educate the audience. And that book I still have today, which was Behold the Pale Horse.
Mm.
Right. So hip hop acts were actually educating their audience, not just making sure everyone bobs their head and and pay their fair share in regards to the ticket sales and so forth, but actually just making sure people are aware of what's happening in their community, how to be involved in activism, so forth. I met Chuck D at Syracuse University just walking on campus and saw him from a distance and ran towards him. No bodyguards, right? No cameras, just wandering the campus, shaking hands, getting to know people, and he signed my book, right?
Mm.
So things like that. But also just learning from people. People might not be aware that we had one of the first hip hop summits in Syracuse. Like Fabulous, Jada Kiss, Puff Daddy, all those people came to Syracuse when we did that huge hip hop summit across the nation to promote peace and social justice. That was also in Syracuse,
Was
right? So
that what
people
was
started picking
Julius
up.
involved in that? Julius
Yep,
Edwards?
Julius Edwards was
Yeah,
involved in organizing that. Yes.
yeah. Of course, hip hop has always been more than beats and rhymes. How is that reflected in what you see happening on the panel? Like, how we looking at the activism piece?
I think by way of our discussions and storytelling in regards to how these artists use their popularity and their
Mm.
platform to promote peace, to promote social justice, to promote awareness. I know that Seth Marcel and Just One have multiple songs about gun violence,
Mm.
about people that passed away that they were really close with, and they're not promoting violence, but they're discussing the hard truth around it and the people that they lost and the loved ones that are no longer here because of those violence.
Lastly, how do you hope to bridge the gap between the Cusetown evolution and what younger audiences might take away from it? Because obviously there's a gap between old school and new school. How do you hope to bridge that gap?
I think it's a way of history, right? Understanding there's a foundation. Uh, and I don't want to stereotype, but often the younger, um, I would say the new age, right? The new age hip hop collective often forget that they did not start this, right? That there's a foundation behind this. So you'll see new acts say, "I am the first," or "I am starting this from scratch," or "I did it all by myself," and they have no idea there's a history behind all of this. That what makes it possible that you could share your story and bring an audience to your concert is because there were a lot of people that laid the foundation to make it happen.
Emad Rahim is a curator of the Cusetown Evolution of Hip Hop, Sunday, August 24th, 3 to 5 p.m. at the Black Citizens Brigade. The address is 140 Bank Alley. So what is Bank Alley? That's that little street How do you describe it between what Fayette and East Washington Street? There's an alley right there.
Yes.
And think of the Key Bank, the Merchants Bank, all of those things. The old Merchants Bank, it's not Merchants Bank anymore, but right in between. Oh, Ralph's Shoe Store, right around the corner from Ralph's Shoe Store on East Washington Street is where Black Citizens Brigade is. Check it out. It's free, 3 to 5 p.m. Is there a registration required?
There's not a registration required, but we would like for people to register so we can take head count. So you can find the registration information. Just search Black Citizens Brigade on Facebook or Instagram, and there's a QR code that allows you to register.
Emad Rahim, we're looking forward to it on a great evolution of hip hop here in the Cuse. Emad Rahim, good to see you, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you.
George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation.